Hello dear friends. Hello dear world. Once again we've gathered with all the friends, and they asked me to speak that I will open my heart. This is what we always do when we're together with that friends. Open our hearts. We gather here in order to bestow contentment to the Creator, and the only way to do so is to simply give ourselves completely to the friends and be honest with ourselves, so that we can give ourselves all the way in spite of all the difficulties. In this moment, the friends also open their heart, and in truth, we're here for the same reason. We have to take advantage of every moment in order to give ourselves all the way, because we don't know what is our last moment. So let's open our heart. This is something that we always have to do. Many times we simply become blinded by the states, by the problems, but nevertheless, we are here all of us together. So let's move on with an open heart. I beg from a prayer of many. Now we can understand the importance of a prayer of many. As it is written, I dwell among my own people. The source says one should never retire from the people, because the mercy of the Creator is always on the whole people together. This means that if one asks the Creator to give him vessels of bestow, as our sages said, as he is merciful, you be merciful too. One should pray for the whole collective. This is because then it is apparent that his aim is for the Creator to give him vessels of pure bestow. As it was written, the mercy of the Creator is always on the whole people together. It is known that there is no giving of half a thing from above. This means that when abundance is given from above to below, it is for the whole collective. Active workshop. How as a 10 can we create a prayer of many that will invite an awakening from above? Again, how as a 10 can we create an awakening, a prayer of many that will invite an awakening from above? Active workshop. We do what we normally do. We generate between us this common deficiency. We give examples to each other. We pray for each other. We strengthen each other. And mostly through our sources and in the lessons. Emmanuel. How as a 10 can we create a prayer of many that will invite an awakening from above? We're all the result of the shattering of the vessels, and the Creator exists in the connection between us. When a person prays for the many, for the collective, he awakens this force of bestow in the collective force that is hidden. And out of this prayer, out of this deficiency that the person raises to the Creator, the prayer of many, the Creator awakens. And this degree begins to awaken and be revealed. We're actually demanding correction, demanding deficiency to bestow. We want to resemble the upper force. We want to bestow to each other, to the others, to the Creator. We want to be similar to Him in our attitude to others outside ourselves. And by that we draw light, by expressing desire and passion to resemble the Creator. Yes, this drawing of light will eventually make us change and accept this special deficiency, called giving contentment to the Creator. The moment we will be rewarded, as a 10 to want to give contentment to the Creator, everything will fall into place. We will be able to connect between us. We will want to connect between us in order to give contentment to the Creator. We will want to raise a prayer in order to give contentment to the Creator. Everything will fall into place. As a 10, our part is crucial, and that's like if I said we have to connect, the prayer has to first go through the friends. I have to connect the friends to the Creator, and through them the group and the entire world. And without passing this prayer through the 10, it is impossible to get close to the Creator. We will continue together, in this direction with all the actions that we do. With that we draw the reforming light, and bit by bit we get closer to this awakening from below. And remember that the awakening from above always exists, as we're told. What is required is an awakening from below. You go Silent workshop. Let's raise our prayer of many to the Creator. Let's raise our prayer of many to the Creator. Silent workshop. Hello friends, in the first part we will watch a lesson by Rab Laitman about the article of Shamari 11, the matter of joy and trembling. You can find it in VAR and in your root system. It's from October 4, 2021. You can find it in Writings of Shamari Shamadi 11. Joy with trembling in the work. Good morning. Thank you. Right in the beginning of the article, he says that one makes a hollow place in the walls of the house. Then he writes that one has to awaken the fear. What's the difference between making a hollow space, which he makes by himself, and awakening the fear? It sounds as though he's awakening something that he has no control of. Take it from our work. We need not to build the house. We need to build the connection between us and the Creator. So in order to build the connection, we need both coarseness and refinement. And precisely in this way we build it, to begin with. He says this: if one builds a house and doesn't create any deficiency in the walls of the house, then he doesn't get a house. He gets this brick cube. We who want to build also have to worry about revealing deficiencies. So, when we connect in the group and we walk along the way and we study together, we find we reveal deficiencies to one another. All kinds of criticism awakens in our egos against the friends that rejects us. We don't want it, etc. We have to understand that these are precisely those deficiencies that we have to take into consideration, and not, as he writes in a different article, it's not like I see a deficiency in a friend. I see these deficiencies in me, and then I have to basically be happy that I have such friends and relationships with them where I discover my own deficiencies, and over these deficiencies I can come to a stage where I compliment them. I compliment them, and that's how I advance. It sounds as though these are two different degrees. Usually when we criticize what is bad or what is wrong. We don't criticize what's good. I have to criticize what is not good in my own eyes. Please add, in my own eyes. And then, on top of that, I have to do another criticism. To what extent am I complimenting the criticism I had with my own eyes, with my ego? To what extent am I complimenting it with the force of bestow, the force of Biner? And then I elevate myself from Toina when I compliment it, and when I understand that what I see in the other is only an imagination. It's imaginary. It's an illusion, where in fact I'm seeing my own flaws, and not the friend's flaws. And in this way I advance when I ask for correction to see the friend correctly. And the correction is in the crimes, meaning revealing the coarseness, it remains, and the complimentation remains as well. And then I already have the form of the path, the coarseness and the refinement. And then, with it I can go on to the next degree, and so on and so forth. We will learn these things bit by bit. We will gradually open it up. One last thing, if I may. Fear, is this a force that comes from above? It's not something that a person can awaken, but rather, we can awaken anything. The only question is where it comes from, and that's always from above. Good morning, Crow. Good morning. A question from my friend. Is the fear we are already talked up here, the fear of what is revealed on the left line, and the fear that is revealed? I can't say it's on the left line in H1. It depends on what degree a person is in. A fear might be revealed from just a person who is afraid. He's afraid of advancing. He doesn't know what will happen to him. There are all kinds. There can be psychological states on the one hand. On the other hand, if we are working through the society to promote the society to the Creator here, I am truly, how should I put it, protecting myself from my mistakes. I don't think it can go wrong because if I am concerned about the society, advancing towards the society so he will enjoy it, being more and more cohesive, consolidated, then that's my whole work. And from this I will learn the right and the left and how we advance. What's important is that when I discover something negative, the first thing I do is I understand that I revealed the bad in me and in no one else. And the other here towards me is as perfect, complete as the Creator. I'm talking about the spiritual inner work of a person. And in this way, I already begin to correct myself. Latin 1. This part in the text where he says that one should awaken the fear of maybe he might not be able to bestow, aim to bestow. How can this part be the opposite of love? It seems like this is a desirable state on our path that we want to achieve it. So it's not clear. Raf, can you help me? If you don't reveal something negative, then you have no opportunity to overcome the negative and come to the positive. This is called love will cover all the crimes. In other words, if I want to come to wholeness, I have to reveal bad things and be happy about them, just as when I reveal good things. Because out of the two, reality is made consistent. That's the way it is. And there's no preference from between the negative and the positive because you can't have one without the other. He explains it to us. You can't eat something unless you add some pepper, salt, and other such things because without those spices, the food is really unfit for eating. Inedible. Animals eat it like that, but we don't. And it stems because of our higher spiritual roots. What are you trying to say? I'm just saying this is in Shamari 34. This is what he writes about these things. Okay, read it. It's not ready yet. Maybe we should prepare it and then prepare it. Oh, wait a minute. We have many more questions here. This fear, it's fear out of the bed or fear that I'm not succeeding in being in adhesion with the Creator. Correct. You're right. Latin 7. Thank you, Raf. When I connect with my friends, do I build some deficiency together with them? Or do I build a connection without the deficiency? Is that the same thing? Repeat, please. When I'm connected with the friends, I complete their deficiency, or do we build a deficiency together? No, it depends entirely on you. Entirely on you. I'll extend that we study. The more we study, I realize that we keep attaining, and a person has all kinds of expectations and hopes, and there is a certain moment where a person feels I attained something, I achieved something. But following sometimes disappointment comes. I realize these are simply means for growth, for development through the degrees. You realize this appointment has her role. How do we use it correctly and combine it with love? How do we work with it in a beneficial way? And the sense are always our way, and we have to try to accustom ourselves to be in both ascents and descents, in a way that we are certain it promotes us and the mood itself doesn't influence usage. Would say this, he would do point to himself, and he would say let it suffer, meaning he would separate himself from his body. The body felt some kind of bad mood or kinds of disappointments or whatnot, but he himself, the part of him that yearned for the Creator, was above it. And then he divided himself into two and said about this part that was disappointed, right? Now, let it suffer. Try to accustom yourself to this. Okay, good. Let's ask the woman again. A question from Chile from 10 number 1. What is spiritual fear? Spiritual fear, that's very simple. It is when I am afraid that I will not be able to bestow contentment upon the Creator. How do I bestow contentment upon the Creator? By advancing my tent toward Him, toward the Creator. That's it. If I try to do it, and it's something internal. It's in the mind, in the heart. If I think about it, if I worry about it, if I push it toward the Creator, this basically is my spiritual work. By this I'm certain I am certainly giving him contentment. We've got a few more. What can you do? Hebrew 10. According to what we learned now, it seems like the attitude is very wrong. Why is that? Because when a person is afraid of losing the joy that he achieved, so that's the ego lack of attention in bestow. If I can bestow, I am above my physical feeling, and I yearn only to be in my spiritual disposition, so not to be afraid to lose what you have. You cannot not be afraid. You have to correct those things, and then you won't be afraid. You can't just decide it. You have to bring in the power of correction. Pity 2. Well, to complete the question of the friend from Latin 1, if a person who is an egoistic will to receive begins to feel a desire to bestow lack for bestow, why is that in contrast to love? It is something new that's in the same direction, isn't it? Perhaps it is. But we're talking about a different manner when he discovers negative things in one that he loves. I give an example from our life, that we know each other. We want to get to know each other more and more. We have to be ready to discover all kinds of negative things. And then we have to know that love will cover all crimes, that if the goal is what's important, then all those things along the way which surface, I have to rise above them in order to come to our common goal. No, can I ask another small thing? If the 10 is now criticizing its advancement, what exactly should we criticize? We always have this question, what should we criticize, what should we not criticize? We first and foremost critic the most important thing. Am I? This is what each one should ask himself. Am I concerned about promoting the 10 to the Creator? That's it. Am I pushing all of them together to the Creator? This is basically our work in the 10. This is the spiritual work. Afterwards, there will be additions to it, but they will come on top of it. So, sorry, go ahead. I didn't understand. Either of you. You interjected with each other. Does the 10 check how much it is advancing? Or is it only individual criticism? No, you still can't measure it. But there will be times when you will begin to measure according to levels of coarseness and refinement, and the screen, and all kinds of things. You will have it. No, can I also ask? Yeah, you tell us more than once. Check out what you're missing as a 10 and raise it to the Creator. Directed to the Creator is a common deficiency. How do we scrutinize in a 10? What's missing in a right way? We're not talking about this now. We're talking about each one being concerned about how he pushes the tent to the Creator. Only this don't mix. Then we have enough confusions. Latin 3. They say that my spiritual work is always going forward. But we have states where we might feel that we're actually progressing, but it's incorrect. So what do you recommend to us so that we can truly perform a mitzvah? What do you recommend for us so that we will truly help our 10 advance spiritually? And that's what we're talking about now. That's what we've been talking about for the past hour. And I have to be concerned about how I promote the 10 to the Creator so the Creator will accept them and tend to them. This is number 1. Number 2. In this work I see myself only as the operator, the one who promotes them. And I for myself don't count. The more I engage in this, the more I come into the work of bestow. You have no other expression of a work of bestow from the person to the Creator, except when he presents the Creator with the 10 so that the Creator can bestow upon them, and then the Creator gets pleasure from bestowing upon the 10. The 10 gets pleasure from advancing toward the Creator, and the person has the pleasure of bringing them closer to each other, while he himself doesn't think of himself, doesn't take himself into consideration except as the operator. Okay, we have another article, or maybe we should drop it. I see there are many scrutinies here. PT 31. What does a person lose if he's not aiming in order to bestow? What should should he be afraid of? What is he missing out? A person who is not afraid, if he's in the aim to bestow or not, that means he's not promoting the group to the Creator, humanity to the Creator. And this is what the Creator wants. This is the meaning of bestowing upon him. If he doesn't do it, then he's not doing it. If so, he is living outside of spirituality. Spirituality means we are directing ourselves, bringing ourselves back to the system of each and every soul should be concerned about bringing the system back to adhesion with the Creator. So when we are talking about a person in the tent right now, we have to try to carry out our operations toward the Creator, each and everyone. This is basically man's work. So if we don't carry out actions towards the Creator, so does the loss also reach the corporeal level? Yes, that's clear. But that's already a result. That doesn't happen immediately or in tandem, in parallel. We don't really care about that. Okay. Part 27. Good morning, Ralph. What are the actions by which a person pushes the friend to the Creator? Are these physical actions, or he helps them in any way he can? He helps them in any way he can to connect among them and be directed toward the Creator. I have nothing more to say. Okay. We advance by walking, which is through love and fear. What does it mean? A leap in spirituality. I don't know. There are such things on along the way, but they're out of our hands. PT 32. We learn in other places that there are different kinds of fear. Spiritual fear. Is there a way to turn the physical fear to the correct fear? The one we're talking about? Yes. We have to delve into it and understand where it comes from and why. And then fear acquires its correct spiritual characteristic. It's a fun too. What is this degree which is called love? In the work between us, love. Is there a love on several sides? We also learn it from the articles of Shamarti, and we have to attain it. Love from the good side, from the bad side. Absolute love, complete love. Everlasting love. There are all kinds of degrees in love, and let's hope we will reach it. The steps, the general steps toward love, is what we're learning now. It is when I am concerned with my little society, small society, to advance toward the Creator and for the Creator to accept it, to want to accept it. Max 6. Thank you, teacher. According to what says, let it suffer. It's very easy to check. According to the ego, that it is actually suffering. Is it possible to check the joy also? I can hardly hear you. Open your mouth and speak closer to the microphone. Speak. Can you hear me? Sorry. Yes. Okay. According to the example of rubbish where it says let it suffer the body, there it's very easy to check that. It's the ego that is suffering, but when I'm happy, how do I determine if this is joy that comes from the ego or from bestow? That's also difficult. It's also difficult in both. It's difficult for us to understand is it egoistic or not. In love, or who am I loving, myself or the other? So love for the other has to go through hatred to the other. When I rise above the hatred to the other, then I come to love, real love, the one that the wisdom of Kabbalah talks about. Because we can't love the Creator. It's a force of bestowal. If it bestows upon me, that's a different story. But if I have to love the force of bestowal, it's impossible. It is darkness for me, not light, as it's written in the Zohar. Why do you need spiritual light? It's darkness and not light. This is why we need to prepare ourselves in qualities of bestow in advance, and then we'll be able to advance toward the revelation of the Creator. Otherwise, it'll seem to us like something terrible, because it is the opposite of our qualities. We'll advance toward it a little bit. All right. Last one. Tell 3. Should a person develop fear towards the Creator or also towards the created beings? No. Only towards the Creator. Only toward the Creator. Out of this he relates to the created beings. K. Back to this example of Rabash. What does it mean when you said that he was able to distinguish his individual self from the ego, the body? This I cannot tell you. Try to reach these things. He was in the force of, and he would say about the force of perception that appeared in him. He would say about it, let it suffer, and also his physical body, let it suffer. It's the way it is. PT3. If love, how do we apply correctly? Love covers all crimes towards all kinds of external commitments that a person has towards the 10 to get there to take part, etc. Show up. What should we cover with love, and what should we demand from the friend? Not demand from others alone, but for the group to agree to uphold the necessary conditions, without which we don't advance, without which we don't come closer to spirituality. And therefore, here we do need to, maybe I didn't understand the question, are not to be confused with this principle that love covers all crimes with respect to external actions and commitments in terms of framework, participation, that each one should also express himself towards the 10 in this way, not just to say love covers all crimes and actually I cover these things as well. Well, you really do need to cover with love. I didn't understand. That's exactly the question. Many times, it's unclear where I should say to the friend, you didn't participate in the lesson. Summary, you didn't show up for the lesson. You were not here or there. Where 10 I should say this, not me. I understand that the 10 should say this to the friend and demand from him, and where we should simply cover with love. What's where is this? Where is that? Basically, I have to accept anything that the friend does in the right framework in the group as a good thing, as a good and correct thing. I'm not really getting it. You mean love will cover all crimes? What do you mean? Okay, but if he doesn't participate in the correct good way, so we have rules in the 10 that we need to follow. So what does it mean? Love covers all crimes in such situations when a friend doesn't participate. Now, if he doesn't participate, is not a friend. A friend is someone who is continuing with us, drawn with us to corrections, and we feel criticism on each other. So, on this criticism, we cover it with love. But if he's not participating, then he's not a friend. A friend comes from the word connection. If someone doesn't come to connections with others, it's as if it's not in the 10. What's to talk about? In every 10, we have such friends. So how do we work with it? Well, this is why our 10s are like that. Every 10, all our 10s are lame. So what does it mean? Love covers all crimes in such states. In such states, you don't cover them with love. If a person doesn't participate, how can I love him if he's not my friend? I can't connect with him. We're talking only about different manners when we don't feel manners of behavior of the friends, because they are different from us. A free. What I see in the world, it seems to advance much faster than our advancement in the 10. Each day it seems like the world is distancing from the purpose of creation. So can we use that in order to awaken fear between us? Yes, I talk about it a lot. I think we need to see how people and the world are falling from day to day, and how much they need correction, how they themselves are talking about the changes that have to be made, but they don't know how or what, and we have to see how we nevertheless give them more and more information about what is happening in the world and why it's happening in the world. The reason is only one. Everything we see in reality, everything, all of humanity, is a projection of ourselves from within us. This is what we learn about the perception of reality, and therefore, the world will not change for the better until we start correcting ourselves to be better, and the deterioration will accelerate more and more until there is no escape or chance to succeed unless we start changing man. So we only need to help people understand that the correction of the world depends on the correction of Money. And that's a big problem. Women info. Women info. Yes, Rav, a question from Moscow 18. How does the fear determine the quality of the prayer? Fear determines the quality of the prayer because the prayer contains both parts, the positive and the negative, the deficiency and the filling, and therefore to the extent that we scrutinize those two states left and right accordingly, we can activate them in the prayer and accordingly receive an answer. Our prayer should include precisely the lack and the gratitude, the deficiency and the gratitude, and by this we complement ourselves. Okay, Mr. What are we doing next? We can go on to Shamarti 12 or continue to preface. So let's ask Shamarti number 12 or the preface. Please vote question. They want Shamarti. Yeah. Okay. Number 12. Okay. So, we are reading Shamarti 12. The essence of men's work. The essence of man's work should be how to come to feel, taste, and bestowing contentment to one's maker, since all that one does for oneself removes him from the creator due to the disparity of form. Conversely, if one acts in order to benefit the creator, even if it is the smallest act, it is still considered a mitzvah, a commandment. Therefore, one's primary exertion should be to acquire the strength to feel taste in bestowing, which is through lessening the force that feels taste in self-reception. Then one slowly acquires the taste in bone. Reading again. 12. The essence of man's work. The essence of man's work should be how to come to feel taste in bestowing contentment to one's maker, since all that one does for oneself removes him from the creator due to the disparity of form. Conversely, if one acts in order to benefit the creator, even if it is the smallest act, it is still considered a mitzvah, a commandment. Therefore, one's primary exertion should be to acquire the strength to feel taste in bestowing, which is through lessening the force that feels taste and self-reception. Then one slowly acquires the taste in bestowing. Questions? No. Read again. Once again, Shamarti 12. The essence of man's work. The essence of man's work should be how to come to feel taste in bestowing contentment to one's maker, since all that one does for oneself removes him from the creator due to the disparity of form. Conversely, if one acts in order to benefit the creator, even if it is the smallest act, it is still considered a mitzvah, a commandment. Therefore, one's primary exertion should be to acquire the strength to feel taste in bestowing, which is through lessening the force that feels taste in self-reception. Then one slowly acquires the taste in bestowing. A long time now, I'm trying to work with this force that pushes me to receive from myself, and I really want to use this force in order to give others. So what can I do in order to lessen the force that feels taste and self-reception and exchange it in taste for bestowing? What are you doing this for? No. I guess this force is strong in me and I want to use it for the good of others and not for myself. Okay. Well, if you are trying to attain through an action a certain result, you have to scrutinize if this action is happening properly. Let's see again. The essence of man's work should be how to come to feel taste and bestow contentment to one's maker. Why? Since all that one does for oneself removes him from the creator due to the disparity of form. Conversely, if one acts in order to benefit the creator, even if it is the smallest act, it is still considered a mitzvah, a commandment. Meaning, whatever brings us closer to the creator is considered a mitzvah. Whatever removes us from the creator is called a transgression because our goal is to reach adhesion. Therefore, one's primary exertion should be to acquire the strength to feel the tasting, bestowing, which is through lessening the force that feels taste in self-perception. Then one slowly acquires the taste in bestowing. This means that a person should try to diminish The pleasure of reception. How can he? He's incapable. And as much as he advances, he becomes more and more. He's drawn to the force of perception. He's drawn to the pleasures because anyone who's greater than his friend is. An inclination is greater. He only has to try along with being drawn to that to also be above it. That's it. It's not that these flavors will be gone, or that he won't wish for these flavors for the pleasures. Now, of course, he'll want them more and more, but he knows where it comes from. And then he may face it. All the scrutinies are in the head and then in the heart. Then he advances to the ability to diminish it in the will to receive, and he attains more and more taste in the will to bestow. And again, it's not by talking to oneself. Try to bestow to the Creator through the group, and you'll start receiving the light that reforms, and this is what's going to change you. That's all. We have no other work besides that. Let's do it first in the 10. How do I check myself in this that I am really performing acts of bestow and not falling again? If you're doing it for the sake of the 10 of the group, you can see it. Practically, there are no thoughts here. It's actions. Make an effort to connect them more to help them more in a more effective way to learn, to take part. Try to do that, and then you'll see how much your work is correct. You'll start getting the right response from above as a result of that, meaning in your emotions, in your thoughts, and even in your strength. You'll start getting a response. There needs to be here an agreement of the entire 10. Is that the criteria? No. If you want to bestow to the society is certainly not against their desire. And we're continuing to a lesson with, from the 29th of May 2006, the preface to the Wisdom of Kabbalah, item 19. You can find the study materials in the Arab website and in Val Hebrew it's in the writings of Barasulam. Page 166, the preface to the Wisdom of Kabbalah. Item 19. Preface to the Wisdom of Kabbalah. This is item 19. We have already explained that the first 3 phases are still not considered a vessel, but only phase 4 is considered a vessel as written in item 5. Still, because the first 3 phases are its causes and induce the completion of phase 4. Once phase 4 is completed, 4 measures are recorded in its quality of reception. This means that the will to receive that was created in phase 1. It emerged in phase 1. It already existed in the root phase. Otherwise, the light itself would not emerge. Towards what does it emerge? But the light must develop the vessel, so it will feel it. So it will feel its root. From where did it come? With which intention it comes, with which relation to the vessel to the desire, and only after the desire feels the pleasure, and from whom he's receiving the pleasure, and why the giver of the pleasure gives him the pleasure. Only after in the desire there are all these causes and consequences. From its development, and out of that he has connection with the giver. It doesn't matter which connection for the time being. We're not talking about in order to be to receive, in order to bestow, but a clear tight connection between them. Then we can talk about that the fact there is a created being that stands opposite the Creator and knows him, and then just a desire that developed to such a degree, to such a state, we call it a complete desire, a created being that exists in reality, and all of the prior stages that occur inside this desire until it matures, until it is ready to feel the pleasure and the giver of the pleasure. They are called the pleasures that precede the desire. They are not yet considered the created being. This is why phase 4 is called created being, and all the previous phases are the work of the Creator on the future created being, and phase 4 is impressed from all the previous phases in general. Every phase is impressed by the previous phases. In phase 1 you have the root phase and phase 1. In phase 2 you have the root phase 1, phase 2. In phase 3 you have root 1, 2, 3, because every phase is based On it includes all the previous phases within it. Otherwise, it would not emerge. It would not be, it would not feel itself, and it would not feel the existence of itself and the creator and the relations between them. And so in phase 4 there are all of the previous phases that are the components of that build its phase 4. And in taking phase 4 into consideration, we also take the previous phases that exist in it into consideration. What does it mean? And we take them into consideration that phases 0, 1, 2 and 3 and 4 within phase 4, these phases 0, 1, 2, 3 belong to phase 4. It's not that the root phase exists in it on its in and on itself, and there is the root phase in phase 4. The root phase that exists in phase 4 is phase 4 that already understands what is the root phase. What is phase 1 in phase 4? That phase 4 recognizes already that it is built as a will to receive through the root phase, and there is a certain intention there, and a certain development of etc. Meaning phase 4 inside all of the previous 3 phases attains the emanator. It gets to know him, and out of this recognition that the phase 4 within phase 4 is built, which is the final vessel. Phase 1 is in it is the slightest measure of the quality of reception. Phase 2 is somewhat coarser than phase 1 in terms of its quality of reception. Phase 3 is coarser than phase 2 in its quality of reception. Finally, phase 4, its own quality is the coarsest of them all, and its quality of reception is complete in every way. We should also discern that the root of the 4 phases, which is the most refined of them all, is included in it too. They all exist in phase 4, in their final development. This means that all of these phases 0, 1, 2, 3 are off phase 4, and from their final development, we can understand what happened in all the previous degrees. Just like in a grown-up wise person sees what's coming and where he was born from, and what happened to him, and how he was raised, how he was educated. Why did he have to go through such stages in order to reach his present state? And out of this wisdom, he can also forecast his future development. He understands what was the intention of nature the creator in all of the development that he went through, and out of that he also understands what will come next. The goal, if phase 4 would not develop through the previous 3 phases within it, it would not reach phase 4 within phase 4. That decides to make the restriction and screen and reflected light and equivalence of form, because in the previous 3 phases there is no such understanding, such attainment, such a decision. Though you can't even say that. There is the recognition of the state only. In all of these phases that exist in phase 4, in them there is the awareness of the causality. These are the 5 phases of reception contained in phase 4, which are also called by the names of the tabim, incorporated in phase 4. Since the 4 phases are as written in item 5, and the root is called Ket. Again and again he emphasizes these are the 5 phases included or contained in phase 4, because we only talk about them. There's no reason to talk about the previous phases, since they don't have their own feeling. The created being doesn't monitor itself, doesn't feel itself. It's not yet divided into 2 parts, me, myself, and I who know myself, who see myself, meaning it doesn't yet have this objectivity, so as to see, to observe itself and the process it went through, and from whom did it go through it, and why did it go through it. This is why we say that in the previous 3 phases it is like they're still vegetative and animate. They exist without feeling that there is a reason for their existence and or a purpose, a goal for their existence. Item 20. The 5 qualities of reception in phase 4 are called by the names of the since prior to the restriction, while phase 4 was still the vessel of reception for the tense, incorporated in the upper light by way of he is one and his name one. Since all the worlds are incorporated, there as it is written in the study of the tense, its clothing of the tense is discerned. They're according to the same 5 phases. Each phase of the 5 phases in her clothe its corresponding phase in the tense fill in the upper light. What does it mean that the will to receive in phase 4 has developed to such an extent that out of its will to receive it feels how the emanator relates to him? Where is this felt? Inside the will to receive. There is no other vessel, there is no other place for the feeling of the relation of the emanator to me. I cannot feel his attitude to me. I can feel his attitude to me inside of a vessel that enjoys to the extent that I enjoy in what manner I enjoy. This is how I'm built. I will never be able to feel how he relates to me. I can feel what I have in my vessels of reception out of the fact that he relates to me in such and such a way, meaning I judge him according to my will to receive. I never have any other possibility. Only after I reach equivalence of form, then out of the fact that I've reached equivalence of form, I begin to recognize how he relates to me inside of my correction, because I reach the same discernments, the same qualities. This is why anyone who disqualifies is disqualifying through his own flaws and the will to receive the way it is, impressed by the emanator. This is how he determines that this is how the emanator relates to him, and this is engraved in his feeling, so that he cannot come out of himself and say, this is what I feel inside of my ego or inside of my will to receive, that this is how he relates to me, but rather for him this is the feeling. It's the feeling to the extent that he acquires the desire to bestow. Then he comes out of himself outside of his vessel into a different vessel which is above the will, is will to receive in faith above reason with an intention that is above in self. And then he starts to observe and compare and decide about his existence in 2 vessels, in the feeling and in the intention. But to begin with, he cannot distinguish between how I feel in my will to receive and the relation of the emanator to me. I never feel the relation of the emanator towards me, but rather the way it is impressed inside my desire to enjoy. This is why this correction of in order to bestow is so important. With it we come out the feeling of the eman himself. We rise above our nature, and we feel him how he relates to us, without it being received inside the will to receive. Without this interference of the will to receive, the way the will to receive judges him. Phase in phase 4 clothed the light of in the tense field. Phase 1 in phase 4 clothed the light of in the tense field. Phase 2 in her clothed the light of Ben. Phase 3 in her clothed the light of her own phase clothed the light of malhood. This is unclear. First of all, from where come those 5 lights? These 5 lights unto us is 5 forms of relation of the emanator to the emanated being, so that phase or receives and feels them, because the root phase and phases 1, 2 and 3 do not feel the life within them. I and I'm alive. Right, there is no such attainment. In children also, and also in people who are not developed, they just live that. They don't understand that there is I, and that I'm alive. Gradually through the development we begin to understand that these are 2 things, 2 different things. So, phase 4 receives within itself the lights, the life, the existence that is in the root phase and in phases 1, 2 and 3, and also what reaches it as a result of them, and it processes them, that these forms of life, the forces of life that exist in the prior development, and out of that she's all impressed by this all-encompassing light, and this gives her the feeling of the feeling, the general feeling of the emanator to the general attitude of the emanator towards her. Later on we say that man includes everything. Why does man include everything? The whole of creation. The still vegetative animatant speaking. It's all impressed. It's all included in men, out of the fact that man corrects himself. He also corrects all of them. And if they are corrupted, it's because man was corrupted, not because of themselves. Because there's no feeling of life, of livelihood in all of the previous stages, but in the previous phases, but only in phase 4, more precisely in phase 4. Within phase 4 and what we correct, until the end of correction, the previous 3 phases in phase 4. By that we only prepare ourselves to the end of correction when we decide that you phase 4 within phase 4 must be corrected. Hence even now after the first restriction, when phase 4 has been banned from being a vessel of reception, the 5 phases of course this in her are named after the 5. What exists before phase 4 they're called phases, and when they're in phase 4 they're called sephirot. There's a big difference because what exists before phase 4 is not yet perceived in the created being as its components, the components of it, of his nature. This is how he's constructed, but rather as qualities of the Creator that reach him and build him. Whereas the root and phases 0, 1, 2, 3 within phase 4, those are already Saphir, meaning that already shines in him as a force of life, of vitality, as the elements that come from the emanator to the emanated being and build him. Anyone, you already know that in general, the substance of the screen is called hardness, which means something very hard which does not allow anything to push into its boundary. So why do we have the screen, the restriction in the screen here? Because phase 4 within phase 4 begins to feel how much the previous phases within it are contradictory to it. She feels within phase 4 the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 in phase 4 she feels the relation of the creator to of the emanator to eat with the understanding of the cause and consequence. Out of that she feels phase 4 within phase 4, the way the creator created it actually, and the contradiction between it phase 4 within phase 4 and the previous 3 phases, the qualities of the creator. Out of that begins to be a necessity for the restriction and screen and reflected light, that these things are certainly do not involve a free action, a free choice to do it or not to do it. These are elements or data that is imprinted in the nature of the created being, that it has to respond in such a way after he feels the qualities of the creator, the way that they exist in its foundation and its own quality, how much he is contradictory to them. All that is left for him actually to do is only to shut himself and decide to equalize with the previous 3 phases. This is why we get the restriction and the decision to equalize, which is a work with the screen and reflected light. Where do we see in the thought of creation in the root phase all of the development that has to happen of the 4 phases later? In the root phase we can't see anything. We see it only in the consequences that emerge from there. Everything that happens in the whole of reality is the result of the root phase. You have no other external cause that comes and intervenes with what develops from the root phase. This is called He is One, and His name is One. As you read before, this is why with every stage we can say that this is the result of the development from the root phase, and also free choice and all of the discernments that a person goes through, seemingly as a free creature. He corrects himself to match and be balanced and reach equivalence of form with the creator relation with the creator. It's all rooted in the root phase. I do not change my harbour. Everything exists there. It doesn't change, and it's rooted there from the beginning to the end. However, the way it is revealed to the created being, because we're speaking with respect to the created being and the created being, these are new discernments. Are these things that are new, do they somehow affect the divine godly reality? Of course not. I do not change my harbour. You do not operate at all on in, but rather a man changes his feeling towards the emanator. He attains the emanator. He changes himself, his reception, perception, his understanding, his attainment. And it's not that he changes the reality of Javier. all the more so the root phase, the tip of the. Similarly, the screen does not let any upper light pass through it, into which is phase 4. Thus, it is considered. We are in a lesson on the topic of winning the war. We will read from a collection of excerpts for strengthening the world clee and for the peace in the world. You can find the study materials in the Arbut system and in the war. Selected excerpts to reinforce the world clee and for peace in the world. We will read except number 1 under the title of Fighting the Evil Inclination. Okay. Yes, please. Except number 1. Army. This is Rapash writes. Army are men of war. This means that these are people who go every day to fight against the evil inclination. They are called army. Therefore, after they have been rewarded with redemption, meaning after they conquer the evil inclination and emerge from the control of the evil, their conduct in the work is by way of ascents and descents. This is called, in Hebrew, armies, meaning at times they emerge from their control and then they are under their control again. Thus the name for ascents and descents is armies or hosts. Yes, that's what Rush writes to us. We have to reveal within ourselves internally how it goes up and down within us, the relation, the desire to fight, to advance in our work until we are awarded redemption, meaning until we correct the entire evil inclination in the portions that rise within us time and again. And from all of these descents and ascents, we have to recognize that there's an end and a purpose to them, and we simply wish to always be winning against our descents, and therefore we are called armies, and that's how we advance. No. Therefore he writes, to fight the evil inclination, they are called army, meaning those who go to fight the evil inclination each day, they are called army. Therefore, after they have been rewarded with redemption, meaning after they conquer the evil inclination and emerge from the control of the evil, their conduct in the work is by way of ascents and descents, which is called, meaning at times they emerge from their control and then they are under their control again. Thus the name for ascents and descents is armies. Turkey 1, please. Good morning, dear Rav. How can one always be at war against his evil inclination? And from where does he take the forces for this war? The forces for the war. Typically, we don't have that. We only have an inner urge to fight. What prevents us from being together, from advancing to adhesion with the Creator, and we don't have the strength for that. Rather, we have to feel how far we are from each other, and how we disagree. Being far, and we wish to advance to get closer. See that we are more connected to each other, and, according to our labour, we are referred to as armies, or army meaning certainly it's the Creator who conducts everything. He is the hero of the war, but we, nevertheless, understand that the war goes through us, happens through us, and accordingly, we have to work with him, which means that we pray. We ask that we have to see all right. Let's see 1. What does it mean that I go out to war against the evil inclination? All of those thoughts and desires that are against the connection, against rising to the Creator, you want to fight them, to eliminate them, not to listen to them. That's how it is. Constant. It follows a schedule. Now we have the lesson, here we have a Zoom meeting, here we have dissemination. So what can we add to truly turn it into a war against the evil inclination? That already depends on your thoughts, on the goals that you've determined for yourself. Are you going to do something or not? And for what purpose, and how will that take place? And so the war with the evil inclination within us, it doesn't end. It doesn't have an end. And the Creator awaits, expects us to be convinced about that, so that we can truly ask Him to take us out, to relieve us from the control of the evil inclination over us. PT 29. Thank you. It says here, therefore, after they have been rewarded with redemption, meaning after they conquer the evil inclination and emerge from the control of their evil, their conduct in the work is by way of ascents and descents. The question is, what is the difference between the ascends and descents following the redemption and ascends before they were rewarded with redemption? Is there a difference? Before they merit redemption, then they have ups and downs one after the other in order, where the will to receive opens up more and becomes revealed more each time, and thus they feel that they have ascends and descents. However, when we've completed the work with the ascends and descents, then we merit, the revelation of the Creator in all His glory, and we're drawn to Him. There's no longer disturbances on the way to our connection between us and with the Creator. Thank you. Grab. Focus group. What should we pay attention to? That we're far away from each other, because we don't demand the Creator or other obstructors that we should pay attention to. We have to be more interconnected, each one with the hearts of the friends, to help everyone. We're thinking about the world in general. We're thinking about, how we are bringing contentment to the Creator through that, and that's how we'll advance. PT 35. What does it mean in practice to do this? Action of conquering the evil inclination. How is it expressed in our relations between the friends and the 10? That's when we yearn for connection and want to be connected. And this tendency, this inclination, this state that we come to, in connection between us within which feeling of the Creator is, those things just grow more and more in the connection between us, and from that we are rewarded with the complete redemption, meaning that the Creator helps us and brings us to the complete and eternal connection. How do the ascents and descents help us perform that, conquer that evil inclination, that it will be a place to bestow a place for the Creator? Sense and descents support one another. It can't be for there to be, there can't be an ascent if you don't feel a descent prior to that. And that's how we advance. Just like we're walking left foot, right foot, and each foot, it's kind of like cancelling out the other one. But in truth, eventually we advance. Woman P6. Woman 56. Woman PT6. We can't hear you. 1 second. They didn't open their microphone yet. Let's try again. Let women PT6 talk. There is a problem with the system. Okay, there's a problem. Women Turkey. In that case, women Turkey 7. How can we correct the damage that our evil tendencies caused? All of our inclinations when we start. Our path is all towards the will to receive, and everyone wants to stabilize it, use it, fill it, as this is the main thing that is revealed before us. Therefore, we need to see each time where the desire to receive is dragging us to, and what else we can do in order to diminish it, maybe annul it completely. Well, we'll see that along the way. Hey, PT 11. The state of revelation of the Creator. The redemption where there are no disturbances between the connection is this towards our next state, or will happen in us from now and forever. We always battle against the evil inclination that is in the degree that's ahead of us, and after we succeed at that, God willing, we will be found before the evil incarnation on the higher degree, and that way each time from degree to degree, just as we ascend a ladder. Woman PT6. Women PT6. Question is this: what's the connection between the peace between us to the peace in the world? We need to believe that, to the extent in which we discover the connection between us, the mutual help, the inclination towards the revelation of the Creator, in such a way, we will be able to come closer to the Creator and discover a place for Him between us. Question about the article. We usually say that a person fights his ego, but here he says that there's an army, a sort of connection. Yes. What makes me an army or us? your connection with the friends. When you connect between you, the desire to withstand against the ego and the evil inclination, and against it you yearn, one towards the other. So it turns out that the group, the 10, is how they defeat the evil incarnation. Does that mean that we fight some collective egoism? Yes. What is the collective ego? I know what my own ego is. What's a collective ego? The collective ego is your ego. It's all of your ego of your group, of those who join it. It's the same connected ego, and therefore despite that ego, long for the goal, and the goal is only in connection in our adhesion, all of us, together to one another. Shown us at 56. When there's a war in the world, what does a cobist pray for? Prays nevertheless for that war that we're in, not being a world war. The main thing is that it goes through our hearts, and that war will disappear, that we will be able to hate the hatred between us, and to try to be as one man in one heart, and that's how we emerge from the war. PT 27. Thank you. What's the desired result of the war? What's its purpose? The purpose of a war is to increase the greatness of the Creator upon all kinds of goals and connections. There are other interactions that can awaken together between us, where only the connection between us, if it's revealed in one's heart, then only in that a person can be certain that he has saved from his evil incarnation. Is there a connection between the external war we see to the inner war? Not necessarily so, but if there is a connection, it's good for us. We inevitably discover the relation between us, and you can scrutinize what is bothering us, to be as one man in one heart, all of us, woman. Latin 26. Connection. In the 10, when there's a disconnection, how to bring the army into the tenant. You can always see that every degree that we will have between us, there are many forces that draw us from the connection, and we need to battle those forces, and really search in the study for which others we can find the forces that will help us come closer between us, connect between us, and thus use the forces of the war. The forces of the war first and foremost are such that each of them really wants for us to distance ourselves, separate, disconnect from one another, and with all of one's forces for each of us, if he's not connected to others, he's a zero. He is considered someone that comes out of the result of the connection, and if he's not connected with others, then he's nothing. He's a zero. Therefore, we need to constantly think and battle only for the connection. We still have Turkey. Someone there, please. Humanity has entered a period of hard wars and hatred spreading everywhere. How can we cause the love expand in all of humanity so there'll be peace in the world? We need to depict to ourselves the connection between everyone, to what extent it will draw the Creator, as well to be revealed between us, and for us to succeed this way, each time we will overcome more and more over the forces that disturb, and eventually we will discover that we are all connected to one another, and the Creator is the centre of the connection between us. PT 33. It was a mistake. I'm sorry. We can go to the next question. Okay. PT 35. You mentioned that we have to come every day and overcome our world, our evil inclination. Yes. How can we know in the 10 that we're truly defeating it? That we see the 10 as a connection, that we know that every day will come and defeat it. If at the end of the scrutiny, after a few minutes of scrutinizing and feeling that you are connected or disconnected, more or less, then upon that you can think and put forth a prayer of wanting to be together and not being capable of doing so. And then, through the connection between you, will feel how much you have a different approach to the state of the 10 to the state of the group. And with that, you can turn to the Creator for him to correct Is there a certain preparation we have to do every day for this war? How do we prepare ourselves every day? Near. We hear that the descents are more than the ascents, and the evil inclination constantly gets stronger the more we advance. So how do we prepare ourselves that we're going to come to win this war and not compromise? We talk about this at the beginning and end of every lesson, and then you will see how much those thoughts will be revealed in you more and more, and to what extent the resistance to disconnection will rise in you more and more as well. Good morning. The war is also an opening for correction, and it shows us in which way we're advancing, that it's in its own pace instead of hastening the times. We need to awaken that in the war. I heard that you said that the Creator is expecting and waiting. When will we be convinced that we'll truly ask Him to release us from the control of the evil inclination? So I'm asking, what are we lacking to be convinced and to cry out that He will take us out? What else do we need to add? How to convince ourselves? I think that to convince ourselves, we need to simply just open our eyes a little more. What does that mean? To open the eyes more, to see as much as possible who the Creator is, that connects between us, that gathers us together, and how we too are inclined towards a state in which we connect all of us together and advance that way. All together, our connection needs to be revealed. In our connection as one man in one heart, and in that one heart we begin to feel ourselves, and that this is the way women have won. Should we now strengthen ourselves and turn to Him as the ruler of the armies? And if so, maybe it's something new for us how to do it right in prayer. We need to yearn for the connection between us, such a connection such that in each of us we will feel this connection as the most important thing, and Him feeling Himself as an individual who's separated from everyone. It's already not important for Him. So in the feeling of each of the connection with others, it's to that state that we need to yearn. To the connection between internal and external wars, places in the world where the war is felt externally. Do they have more responsibility to connect internally, or does it not? Is it not connected? We need to reach the inner connection between us, and to the extent in which this inner connection between us will bestow upon our external form, then we will see what the Creator does to us. We need to be as one man in one heart. That's it. Women Mac 43. True spiritual work is revealed when there is no more form, but only a yearning for the light. And that is a state where we annul our form before we get a new one. No, it's not exactly correct what you're saying, but gradually it will take on a form under the bestow that we're drawing upon us. PT 23. Do you see a connection between this current war in corporality to our inner spiritual war? Of course, I see a connection, and also in a certain way. We have yet to come to the world becoming transparent, and our group appears as one group. We have yet to reach that. There's partial redemption, complete redemption. I really hope that we are advancing towards that. But the main thing with us is what bothers us more, and how we will be able to connect between us and to come to something that's similar to the beginning of creation. Women must go 8. We hear that in order to win the war of the inclination, we have to reach the right connections. What are the right connections between us? The correct connection is the connection between us in which each doesn't emphasize himself or stand out. On the contrary, he wants to push everyone towards connection. That's the correct connection. You said that we have to be in this general thought for humanity. What general thought should we have for humanity? That in this group, the general thought for humanity group thinks how he can help the other, and to the extent in which they have the opportunity, the possibility to help one another. Woman moment. A lot from him. Yes. Woman Mac, we can't hear you yet. There's a problem with women. We can go to a different question. Women Ukraine too. What does it mean that the world has become transparent? For us to feel our connection with others directly, as one who attains, understands, and for this connection to stand before us as the greatest achievement for each of us. The problem of the sides at war with one another is that every side doesn't see the hand of the Creator controlling the other side, and this perception the sides aren't connected. Of course, you can say it that way, but the thing is that to do it so it will be clear to everyone, and for everyone to feel what we're supposed to do in order to reach a common result. This is something we have to find to get to know, to take it upon ourselves. Villain. In the wars we see on the outside, it's all a result of the will to receive. Yes, so accoists war, for the inner war to attain the quality of bestow. To attain the quality of bestow. So the war is against self-love. I can, yes, thank you, awakens us to be in connections between us. We weren't in such a depth of connection before. The question is how we can take these connections and direct them to a connection with the Creator that is felt lacking when we are in closeness to ourselves, to between us. From that we learn what connection between us is. What's the difference between closeness and connection? Closeness is a more external connection, whereas connection is such that we connect to S1. And there's another stage of connecting to the Creator, or is it in the connection between us? Is it revealed there? By this we learn how we can be in and a mutual connection between everyone, and how we can scrutinize from these connections, how we can scrutinize from the connections between us, the general one bond to be as one man in one heart, how to reach that from the closeness and connection and scrutiny. Wouldn't that bring us to reveal that one connection that the Creator does? But we need to constantly feel that that's the problem before us. That's it. And that's how we will advance. PT 8. He says that the Creator is bringing us closer to Him through His sense and descents come and go in the armies. How does that teach us to be similar to the Creator? How do the ascents and the sense that He gives us help us become similar to Him? How do we, specifically by us going through a sense, and the sense, and in our desire? So our desire, from that it receives these states, and eventually, that, how should they? From that it starts to feel where those sense and descends are, and from that he comes to a desire air. You come to a desire for a complete connection, and then you start demanding him from the Creator to demand that whole connection, the complete connection. How does it make us resemble the Creator? He works on us. He brings us a sense and the sense. Yes, and we need to ask to connect between us, right? Yes, in order to come closer to Him. And what do we become similar to Him? By the Creator being the root to everyone, and caring about the connection between their own, and we need, accordingly, to see ourselves needing to advance in this direction. So we need to be the root to everyone, just as He is the root to everyone. Yes, of course. How's it expressed that we become the root to something? That we're awakening everyone, the whole world clean. And we want for everyone to understand that altogether our problem isn't connection between one another, where each fulfills the deficiencies, foreign deficiency, and by this we will feel to what extent our life depends on this. We want to supply for foreign desires, and the Creator wants to give to us by that we become similar to Him. Yes, yes. Importance of the goal and responsibility felt very strong, that there's some barrier that won't let us pass. It's like we have to work with a different force. Do you have advice? Because we kind of hear something but we're still not doing the right action. I didn't quite understand the question. but we need to continue in this. That's for sure. The direction is correct. PT 11. How can we help each other to go more internally to the connection between us, and what do we want to discover there? Thank you. I didn't quite understand your question. How do we help each other to go deeper into the inner connection between us, that each one can feel the deeper layer of our connection? That doesn't depend on us. We need to yearn for connection, and what will happen to us is not quite something that we can be responsible for. Of course, we want to advance from one state to the next, where each next state will be more connected between us and connected to the Creator, and with all the system that the Creator created. But, nevertheless, let's move all our forces from the side of egoism, meaning from each and everyone, individually, to a common platter or plate. And by this we will obligate the Creator to relate to creation and to his creatures, his creations, in such a way as well. Okay, all right. Woman Mac, we can't hear you. We don't hear you. It's the same problem that was before. Maybe some other question. Okay, that's to them already. PT 23. Thank you for the lesson, love. Our desire to defeat the inclination. We recognize qualities that are pro-connection or against connection. How to give the happiness and uplifting in connection to the qualities that come against the connection. Of course, we would like for it to happen in a clearer manner. The gap between the feeling of connection and the feeling of separation. But, accordingly, it will come. We just need to give them each time the characteristics of the cliff, meaning that we would want to come close between us, and to hold on to one another, each unto his friend, and that's how we will feel the connection between us and the extent in which it opens for us systems that connect and bring us a new feeling, a new world. Okay, the only ones left are one group that didn't get yet. The possibility to ask and to hear an answer, and that is Burva. Good morning, World 10. Thank you for letting us ask. The external war that is so difficult. It makes us numb, and we have to respond from the emotion to ask for connection in the tent. But the suffering is so great that we forget that the Creator wants to bring us closer, that He's giving us signs. How can we bridge that gap between the intensity of suffering and loss to the Creator wanting to bring us closer? And this is the path for redemption. How do we overcome that gap? I understand the question. Maybe how we will receive an answer to it by each and everyone feeling the deficiency, both in the question and in the answer. And all our lacks will connect to one deficiency, and then we'll begin to fill these small deficiencies. Please, and do one plea. For the time being, we will move to the next part of the lesson. So we're going to go to a workshop to summarize the lesson. Thank you. So, we're summarizing the main things we heard in the lesson in the tense. Please, 8 minutes. All lesson long. To summarize, it's that place where each of us emerges towards the direction of the friend, towards the thought and desire to connect and push each and everyone to truly be in that action of pushing everyone, all the friends, to the Creator. The main thing is to keep going, to be persistent, to keep our orders, and that the light that reforms will keep working on us, developing everything to be in this tendency of connection, more and more. He who prays for his friend is rewarded. First, that we yearn for a connection between us is actually the point from which you can reach the Creator, and only by that connection between us, that warmth, and from there actually it comes, and the feeling of the Creator grows. Yeah. What said that each one's concern, not for himself, but to push the 10 to push the whole world to be as one man, with one heart, and in that work, to aim to yearn to feel that the Creator is conducting us, connecting us, leading us. Yes, everything that helps us scrutinize. The commandment that unites us. And the most beneficial thing that what brings us close to the Creator is the connection between us. The connection between us is the greatest commandment. I also heard that the ascents and the descent support one another. And there's no other possibility in being in ascent. There's no way to be in an ascent if you didn't have a descent beforehand. And if it without other connections, you're at zero. It's kind of the most correct connection, is to cause a connection to others. Yes, to take all the personal thoughts, the personal ego, and to gather together, constantly in the connection between us, as much as we can to gather inward to be together, and the whole war against the hatred, against the separation between us. That is the place of our work, and upon everything that's happening we have to increase the greatness of the Creator between us, to live it between us. Yes, what I heard in the lesson is there are two acts of nearing. It's an external action and an internal action. To connect, to be one, is only with the intention that you want to bestow to the friend and to bring contentment to the Creator, and not and to build myself opposite and support the friends and the 10. We need to keep connecting. That's actually the answer to every question. Connection. Desire to do it with intention, desire to do it in order to give contentment, to implement the purpose of creation. That's how we help each other. That's how we, and that we have an opportunity to come out of ourselves towards the friends, and in this way resemble the Creator. I will add that it's not just connection, but rather we really need to battle this connection with all our might, and against those feelings of separation and distancing, and everything that rises against this connection. This connection is our connection. It's our connection with the Creator, and how we grow this importance between us. Because we don't do this for the sake of connection, but we do it for Him. It's the commitment of each one of us towards the 10, each one of the friends, to support and to build a deficiency, to give contentment to the Creator, to advance by all kinds of means our possibilities, to come closer, to straighten up, support one another, pray, all those actions, draw the performing light. So, we'll persist in them more and more. And Rav once said that our work is kind of primitive. It's to hold on to, so grip onto it and continue and persist, and we will succeed. I'll add what Sharon wrote in the right. Connection is when nobody stands out, but on the contrary, he wants to push everybody into the connection. That is the right connection. I'll read it again. The right connection is the connection between us, where each one doesn't stand out, but on the contrary, he wants to push everybody into connection. That is the right connection. So with that point, I wish that in every deed between us and the 10. We're going to move to the next part of the lesson from Zurul for Zurul.